So what we've done so far is created a form. So if I go to /add article, I'm able to add new article, new byline, new abstract, and click the submit button. I click submit. Nothing really happens so far in here, but I get so I come in here, creates an article object, sends that article object to the add article API, takes that response, turns it to a JavaScript object, and then it returns that data. And right now I'm just console logging that response right here. What do we want to do after we add this article? Do we want to route to the article itself? Or do we want a success message? What do you guys want to do?
I like a success message pops up.
I don't like that. No, I'm just
No.
No, we can do that. So, but what if before I refresh that, or before we do that, what if I just don't type anything in and click submit? Look what happens. I get a post error, unprocessed entity. So get an error, but I get an add article page line 16. I actually get, this is the data that is being passed back. So it comes into here, tries to post this information in here. Says, hey, there's nothing in the body. It fails to post anything, takes that response, assigns it to the data variable, and then returns that data variable in right here. So we get an error, like it looks like an object with an error key that says like details. It has an error message, it has the type, a validation error, and a status code of 422. So let's first deal with that. So we can say, like, if the data returns a success, so let's see what happens when I successfully return it. So this is what's actually being returned here. But when I get an error, we get an object with an error key on it. So we can say, like, in here, say, like, hey, if data.error, so if there's an error within the data, I can return some information, such as, like, I can return an object with, message that says, data.error. What message do I want to show up? I can either have this, I can have the error message show up, the article instance not valid, details can't be blank, blah, blah, blah. So I can actually send that message back. Message, and then I'm also just going to say, status code, what was it, 422? Else, maybe I just want to return the data.
I have a quick question, Tom.
Yep, Dylan.
With that error.message, so I'm assuming blank isn't the only thing that'll register a specific error. So does .message make it more dynamic with what the actual error was?
It could be, yeah. I mean, I can send this back, and it will be dynamic, specific to the error. Or I can do something with this message and pass it to the front end, which I might do, and I also just might display something differently to the front end. Or I can even just say, like, hey, like, there was an error posting your article. I could do that, but just my decision is just to pass the error message in. So I'm going to get rid of this console log on line 44 because we don't need that anymore. And I just want to see if this works again. So cool, we get the title. Now if I refresh and I just submit it, I get that error message back. The article instance, so that's just being passed into the front end. That's what's being passed there, and it's showing up right here. So, and you said on a success, you want a message, some banner to show up, like a successfully posted, right? So we don't necessarily need to return the data back. We can maybe even return this back, but have a success. You success, or I can literally just put like success. And status code, let's say 200, because that is a success. So in here, I can say, if I want a banner to show up, I'm going to use state in here because I want to say like, hey, if there's a message, whatever message I get back, I want it to display something. So I'm going to say, I'm going to set it to state, that message to state, and then use that in my alert or in my message. So use state. And then in here, I can const, I'm going to say message, set message, use state, and the initial value is null. I'm going to also pass in the alert from React Bootstrap. So alert. So I might try to make this alert dynamic. I haven't done this before, so I'm going to try to do it on the fly. If not, it'll all just be the same. So in here, in this add article, I can make this a little dynamic. I can say, hey, if there's a message that shows up, or before I do that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's set that response. So console log the response, which was, console log the response. So if I click that, this is the message I get back. So once I get the response back, I can set message to, what is it, the response dot message. And so in here, I can actually console log the message initially, which is like the state. So if I refresh this, there's my state is null. If I click that, it says state, the article instance is not valid, details can blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, if I actually post a message or post a successful one, I get the state is success. So the value of message is this, otherwise it's success. I don't necessarily want this error message because I want it to be a little dynamic. Let's say message error. So in here, so if I submit that, I get success. Otherwise, it's an error. So now in here, I can make this dynamic. I can say, if there's a message, display an alert. And I'm going to try to make this dynamic based off of the type of alert or the type of message. So if there's a message, and I don't need this. And let's just say success. And so if I click that, uh-oh, what happened? Variant is not defined. Oh, right here. This is an alert. Refresh it, submit it. I get this is an alert. It's green. Again, that shows up. So this is an alert. Now I could say, I can display the type of alert depending on what type of message. So whether it's an error, I can use that. So I can say if message equals error, what should it be? Danger, otherwise success. And then in here, that's probably that's too complicated. I'm just going to keep it simple. I said if message, I'll do a different ternary here. So if message equals success, display this alert message that says, you've successfully posted a new article, else make it a danger. And it says like there was an issue posting your article. Try again. So let's take a look at that. Let's add some margin to that. Uh-oh. So it automatically does that. Oh no. So, does anybody have any ideas of how I can make this not show up regardless?
Would you have to make the second message equal exactly error, or would you have to put a third case that says if there's no message, display nothing?
Yeah, that's kind of bad practice to do like a nested one. I can go back and change this and make this a little dynamic. If message, I'm going to want a message equals success. Success, else danger. Get rid of that. So let's just see if this part works. Nope, error. Why didn't it work? Oh. So, but it says you've successfully posted your article, whereas if I do this, it turns green. So we got that part working. Now we can mess around with this somehow. Can you even do that? I don't even know if you can. Message equals error. There was an issue posting your article, else you successfully posted a new article. So it doesn't look like it likes that. Oh, there we go. So I can click that. There was an issue posting your article. Otherwise, you successfully posted an article. It's one way we can hack it. So does anybody have any questions on how I handled that error handling? So I'm gonna kind of make these a little more readable. I like to put everything on a separate line just to make it a little more legible. What questions do you have about the error handling here?
Is there an easy way to clear the form after you submit?
I'm not quite sure if we can say target dot title dot value equals empty string. I don't even know if this is going to work.
You might be able to do event.target.clear as well.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm not sure. I think I've seen that before.
Clear and invoke it.
Let me double check that I'm not leading you down a.
We can check it out.
It
No.
may not be clear. Maybe something else.
Yeah,
Oh, reset.
like so.
Yep.
Let's try that again. Oh. Why that? Cannot read property reset of null.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Not quite sure. I just want to see if this works. This is. Nope, that doesn't work either.
All right, so
I'm sure there is a way. But yeah, I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to mess around with it. But yeah, there definitely is a way to do that. But I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. If anybody finds it, let me know. All right. So there we go. We have error handling. There's actually another way we can do this, which is really nice, that prevents us from submitting an article without anything, without us. There's some validation errors that we can have in React Bootstrap that will tell us, hey, that this is in fact a required field. So in here, in title, we can literally just add the attribute required to every single line. Refresh it. And so if I try to submit it, it says fill out this field. So fill out that field, submit it, says please fill out this field. Okay, submit it. So this is other front-end error handling before it even gets to the back end. But it's still good to have error handling on the back end as well, just in case a hacker somehow hacks its way into the form and manipulates it. So come back here.
Is that specifically a Bootstrap thing, or can you do that if you create a form with HTML text?
It's specifically a Bootstrap theme, but you could also, you'd have to manually add error handling in here, and that you can do that up here somehow by just checking to make sure that there is in fact a value there, and then showing some front end stuff, some front end like an alert that says like, hey, you need to add everything, make sure all fields have a value or something.
I'm assuming you could still take it a step further to dictate, like, even if it is filled in, that it follows a certain criteria on the front end.
Yep. So you can actually pass all these values into like a helper function that makes sure that it meets the minimum requirements. All right. Let's move on. So it looks like we kind of handled the error handling right here. You can also, if you want, you can like return props.history.push and push to the article ID if you actually return the article itself. So you can, after you submit it and it successfully submits, you can actually reroute it to the individual article if you want. All right. So let's do the login form, login page. So right now, once we go to /login or /login, let's create a login page. So it's here. So this page should also display a form. With this form, it should have 2 text inputs, one for an email and one for password and a submit button. So very similar to what we copied and pasted over here originally, but just for our login. So inside my pages, I can create a login.js. I can do RCS for, do you want to do class-based or functional-based component? Does it matter?
Functional.
All right.
Yeah, functional.
Don't necessarily know if we need props yet, so I'm just going to say login page here. So now I can go to my route, my app.js, and create a new route. Exact path equals /login, the component is a login, and I had it automatically auto-complete it for me, and it automatically imported the login from the pages directory. And now I can close that out. Now if I come over here and then just go to /login, I get the login page. Now if I go to the login page, there's nothing here. So I'm going to create a form. So if I literally just come down here and use this form group, it's pretty much exactly what it's wanting us to create. Pasted that in there. Formatted it a little bit. I don't need this text there. I don't need this checkbox here. I'm going to bring the button on one line. I can do class name. It was M3 to give me some margin. I can do an H1 here to like log in. I can do that. I want to do outline. I want it to be a large button. And I want it to be a block. So I want it to cover the entire page. So I come over here. What does it say? Oh, form is not defined. I did not import. So import form from React Bootstrap. There we go. But now if I refresh it, button is not defined. So I also need to import the button. And there we go. And these email and password. So if I click this, this says please include an @ in the email address. That's because of this form control. The type is email, and it already has some validations inside of that. So what does it say? New site 5. So password fields are slightly different than text inputs. So that's for text. A password field needs to have this password type. So this type is an email. This type is a password. You can use React Bootstrap or React Strap or whatever you want. After your form, attach an event lister to the form's on-submit event. In the event handler, simply console log the values of the email and password. So this type is submit. So I can say, create a method called handle login submit, takes in the event, and then just console logs the event dot target. Let's do email dot value, and then also password dot value. And now I'm going to have to add the name of email to this, and then the name of password to this. And I can call these whatever I want, but I want to identify, I want to name them to actually kind of what it is. So and then on this on form, I can do on submit. And this is going to execute the handle login submit method. So if I come back over here, got my login. Let's do a refresh, no errors. Email tom@email.com, and password is password. And if I click submit, I should get a console log over here. Wait. I remember I did not event.prevent default. There we go. And now if I submit it, I get the tom@email.com gmail.com, and the password is the password. And I can call this whatever I want. So created a form with a email input and a password input. The type is password for the password input and the type of email for the email input. These have different functionalities. These make these inputs operate a little bit differently. And then I have created this handle login submit button, or this method that takes in the event and just console logs the value of the email and the value of the password when I click on submit. Question, what if I wanted to move this button from like a design purposes, like way out of the way? Oh. Why, that's weird. Anyway, what if I did not attach, don't have this button attached to this form? So if I do this and click submit, the submit button isn't associated with this form anymore. There's a way I can associate this button to this form. So just from like a design perspective, for whatever reason, maybe your designer or how you have it architected, the button is someplace not near the form. I can still associate this button to this form. So I can add this ID as an login form. And then down here in this button, I can add another attribute called form and have it equal to this login form ID. So now, at email.com, and now the button is associated with the form. It's a little hack. And that's only if the button is not located within the form itself. Let's see if that's everything. So secondary objectives. So there's no error handling. We accomplished the error handling. There we go. This can't be alleviated, but there's some more logic. So it's got, when we get an error, okay, that works. As always, convert these functional components into class-based components and vice versa. If it's a class-based component, convert it to a functional-based component. What questions do you have about new site 5?
When you're attaching a name to the form, the different input fields, is that unique to the component, or do you want them to be unique throughout the whole website, or this specific page, or how unique should it be?
Just to the specific page that it's associated to, the specific component. What other questions do you have?
Yeah, how would you go about implementing that little I on the password field?
The little I and the
Yeah, you know,
password.
like when you like type password, and it's like, oh snaps, I forgot what I typed, and you just click a little I.
I actually have never tried to do that before. I think that has to be done from scratch. Like you'd have to develop that yourself. I don't know if there's any libraries out there that have that functionality built in. Because I remember at my last job, we had to do that and we implemented it from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah. What other questions do you have?